All right, guys, we're starting back. Dr. Jeff Meyer here with me on the Give Me Liberty podcast. Brother, good to see you. You were on Liberty's campus back in 2024,
the 1 year anniversary of the October 7th terrorist attacks on Israel.
That's right. And a horrific day. A lot has happened since then. There is a quasi kind of peace plan that has been put in place by the Trump administration. I'm hopeful, but I'm not unrealistic. And I recognize the perennial challenge is ideological, it's religious and spiritual in nature, and then it is political last. From your perspective.
I frame the Israel issue not primarily as geopolitical, but as theopolitical.
Yeah.
If we don't understand that at the heart of this is really a debate about whether Western civilization is valid, then we will misunderstand the entire issue.
Yeah.
If we try to understand this issue and forget that the Islamic worldview intends to be a world dominant worldview, then we've misunderstood the entire issue.
It is the single greatest, next to communism, it is the single greatest threat to Western civilization is Islamofascism.
Now, I know a lot of people say, well, I have some Muslim neighbors and they are just fine, but they are not the ones controlling the debate around the world.
Right.
There are 57 nations that are members of the the Organization of Islamic States.
Right.
57. It's always amazing to me that there's one Jewish state, but that can't exist.
Yeah.
Why? Because the 57 feel threatened by the existence of that one.
Yeah.
But there is a tremendous lack of understanding among believers about what Islam actually teaches.
Right.
Because we know our Muslim friends and neighbors, and they're hospitable, and we work with them, and they live near us.
That's right.
That's not the question here.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, when that worldview becomes dominant, what does it intend to accomplish?
Yes. And so, by the way, at the end of the day, and just for every Christian, we believe in the Imago Dei. We believe in the Great Commission. We're trying to win Muslims to Jesus Christ. Absolutely. 100%. We don't demonize our neighbors. We want to humanize them. And we want to understand that they're fallen, that they're separated from God, and that the gospel triumphs over every darkness, including Islam. Islam will be eradicated. It will be crushed. It will be defeated with the gospel of Jesus Christ. It will be. But we want to win our Muslim neighbor. We want to win them to Jesus. I want to win my Jewish friends to Jesus, which is actually the future promise of the gospel as well. It's baked into Romans chapter 11.
Well, there is no other name by which one may be saved other than Jesus. If there is going to be salvation for anyone, it's going to be through Jesus. And that is a hopeful message for a lot of people who grew up in Islamic tradition or grew up in an Islamic worldview. The traditions they feel perfectly comfortable with. The theology, most Muslims don't feel that comfortable with, because they realize, well, if I play this out to its logical conclusion, then I essentially must go back to the time of Muhammad and say that was the idealized state. But it wasn't idealized. Women were oppressed and continue to be oppressed in many Muslim-dominant nations today. People were enslaved. Slavery was not only a common thing, but it was a God-given right, something that was to be seen as a virtue. It shows that you're a blessed person if you are able to conquer people and take them as slaves.
Right.
All of that, people are really uncomfortable with. And when they hear the gospel of Jesus, you actually can know God. You can know him personally. You don't just know him by his law. And when you know that God is merciful, you don't just know that because it's a Quranic verse. You know it because you've actually experienced the mercy of God in your own life. So isn't it fascinating how the political and the theological come together? That's why I say it's the theopolitical issue.
Yeah.
And often Israel is sort of the target when the real issue is, what are you going to do with Jesus?
Absolutely. Okay, if I may, and real quick, because I know time is short, and I hate how time is always short, but the current argument within sort of the conservative circle. I think the majority of folks here at Turning Point, I know from the leadership standpoint, this is certainly true without question. There is no quarter for anti-Semitism. There is absolutely no quarter for that. But we're seeing that there are these disparate voices that are dividing and distracting along this issue of rising anti-Semitism, whether it be Fuentes, who's not a conservative, he's just a podcaster, but even a man that I've loved and admired for many years is Tucker Carlson. A lot of confusion there. What are your thoughts and reactions to some of that, the things that you've heard and seen?
Yeah.
And then Ben Shapiro last night gave a great speech, and I largely agree with most of what Ben said.
We have to remember that there are 194 nations in the world, and the only social prejudice which is acceptable in all 194 is anti-Semitism. There are some nations where there might be racism of one group against another, or the majority culture may think that a minority religion is a cult and they will seek to suppress it. But the only completely socially acceptable prejudice is anti-Semitism. So when young adults who are of a conservative mindset begin to play into that, my mind immediately goes to what kind of propaganda have they received? So what do you do if you are in favor of Israel, but maybe you're uncomfortable with the dispensationalist label or whatever? And I came up Presbyterian, so I did not even write my book.
You were covenantal.
I didn't even write my book, Should Christians Support Israel, based on dispensationalism.
Yeah.
I wrote it on a covenantal perspective.
Right.
But when young people are facing that question, I want to know, first of all, do you think that the state of Israel has a right to exist? Second of all, how do we, because we have a relationship with this nation, it may be our most important allyship, but even if you don't accept that, you have to recognize that the two nations are intertwined. How do we properly criticize Israel when we don't appreciate their actions? Well, how are we to properly do it in the United States? I love America. That doesn't mean I agree with everything the government does. So there's got to be room for people to say, I think the way Israel is doing this or that is not something I support, but I absolutely support its right to exist. That, I believe, maybe I'm naive, but I think that would create a tremendous amount of clarity for people when they're just throwing around accusations of anti-Semitism, which is everywhere present in the world.
Totally. I believe that anti-Semitism is a peculiar kind of hatred, because when you consider that there are only 14 or 15 million Jews worldwide, something like that, for everyone to be almost unanimous in that kind of hatred, it explains to me the supernatural, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this as a Reformed guy, but it is one of the most peculiar kinds of hatred because it's unanimous. I mean, you have all these people throughout time and history, and you're like, but why did you care about that? I mean, that's such a small group. Why does that even bother you? Why does that even, why is that even on your radar? And why are you wrapped up in that? You know, it is only explainable, I think, through the understanding of the gospel, and that there is darkness in this world. And this darkness has a certain kind of mission and agenda. And on that agenda is the extermination of the Jewish people. And it continues to rear its head.
I think you're right. I mean, that sounds really harsh to say it that way, but I think you're right. I have a Jewish friend who, incidentally, is one of the greatest civil rights advocates for the rights of Palestinians.
Yeah.
And I asked him, how do you explain this kind of anti-Semitism? And he said, at root, it is a hatred of God. Now, somebody doesn't really wake up in the morning usually and say, yeah, it's 7 o'clock in the morning, I hate God. You know, it's not the way they think about it. But the question is, who's getting out of that bed? Am I getting out of bed as a servant of the one true God? Or am I getting out of that bed thinking that in my day, I am the God of my own life? And there are a lot of people who are drawn towards small government principles, free market principles, who still see themselves every day as the God of their own lives.
Yes.
They will never arrive at a true worldview from that perspective.
Amen. We will leave it there. Brother, thank you, Jeff Meyer, for all that you're doing. I certainly appreciate your leadership, your voice of conviction, clarity, common sense. This generation needs that. Thank you for being a student of the word. Thank you for being an educator. You're very valuable. You're a friend of liberty and of the Freedom Center. God bless you, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I love LU and I love the Freedom Center. Thank you for everything you're working on, Ryan.
Thank you. Hey, did you find this helpful? I hope you did. Please like and subscribe, share with a friend, and also go to standingforfreedom.com, where you can find more content, articles, podcasts, and our Theology of Politics series, all at standingforfreedom.com.